Hey everyone, welcome to Pawpaw's Workshop. In the last video, I made you a promise. I said I was going to take this Kerfmaker that makes the perfect dados and show you how to use it with the table saw fence if you're making a cabinet. In all the videos that I have looked at where people are using the Kerfmaker, they always use it in conjunction with a table saw sled. And that just doesn't work in all cases. For the most part, the table saw sleds are too small and you can't put a cabinet-sized panel onto those sleds. So today I'm going to set up this Kerfmaker jig to be able to show you how to use this in conjunction with the fence to be able to do those cabinet-sized panels. I want to give you a quick recap on how most people show you to use these jigs. And the first step, of course, is to measure out the thickness of your plywood. And then once that's done, you would set it up along your fence with this right in here, with this over here on your stop block. And that would be where your first cut would be. And it would be right there. Then you would take this and lay it down, slide this over, and you would make your second cut. And it would cut right there, and that would be your dado, because that material would get cut out. The problem is, with a large panel that is longer than this is wide, you can't fit that whole cabinet panel in here. So for that reason, you have to be able to use the fence. You can't set this up with the fence in this manner. So let me get this out of the way, and I want to show you how we can set this up. Now just to show you, I have this cabinet. These are two side panels, and I need a dado 2.5 inches up from the bottom, and that dado is going to run right along this area. This panel is quite a bit wider than my table saw sled. So for that reason, I need to be able to use the fence, and that fence needs to slide, or the material needs to slide right along this edge. Now I want to pretend for just a moment that this is my cabinet panel, and I want to run that dado along here. Now I already said I needed it 2.5 inches from the bottom. So I can bring this over to the 2.5 inches right there. And of course I can run that first piece through. But how can I get this set up so that I can move this the correct amount over to be able to cut that second dado? Now the key to it, we're going to set the fence at the 2.5 inches. And we're going to set that right now, right there, 2.5 inches. So that will be set. So that board is going to run right through this way. And then it's going to have to move over that 3/4 of an inch. Now the key to this is setting it up on this side. And I need a stop block. And I'm going to put that stop block right here. And I'm going to clamp it in place. Now before I tighten this up, I'm also going to use the jig because I have this set where I want it to be set, and I need this set where I cut the short end first. So I'm going to set that right there, and then I'll take this stop block and slide it right up to that point. With that in position, then I can tighten the stop block. And then I'll remove this out of the way. That can now be removed. And then when I make this cut, I'll turn this over and put the long side in and make my second cut. This will stay stationary. Now I've already set the height of the blade, so it's going to cut 3/8 of an inch up. So that's going to be halfway through the plywood. So this is the setup. This board is riding right along the fence, and this line right here is my 2.5 inch mark, and you can see how that saw blade will come right to that point. So this is my first cut with the 2.5 inches. Many of you know that I like to test many different things before I actually do the real project, but I am so confident in this setup that I'm going to run the actual panel through to begin with. Now, of course, this is that first side of the dado. This is that 2.5-inch measurement. Once this cut is done, then the real test begins, because I'll move that fence over using that Kerfmaker jig to be able to create the other side of the dado. So now that we made our first cut, and we did it with this, the short portion of this jig, I need now to move this fence over, because I want the dado to be closer to the bottom of the panel. So we're going to change this now, and we'll rotate this over, and we'll put that right into this position, and again, move the fence back so it just touches the jig, just like that. So that moved it over the 3/4 of an inch, the same amount as our slot right here. So we'll tighten this down, we'll slide this out of the way, and we're ready to make our second cut. Don't forget that screw is the offset for the blade. So now you can see the second setup where this blade now has been moved over closer to the bottom of the panel itself. Had I wanted the dado to be on this side, the only thing I would have done differently is set the Kerfmaker up with the long side in first and then move the fence over. But in this case, this will be the perfect setup. So now I'm ready to run the two sides through the saw. Once I run this second side through, that gives me the total width of the actual dado. The only thing that's left to do is just to slowly hog out the center portion of the dado. And you do that simply by moving the fence over roughly about 1/8 of an inch at a time and run the panel through until all of that center material has been removed. Now with these two sides cut left and right, then I can just move the fence over a little bit at a time and chisel away and remove that center portion. Now I'm not going to waste your time showing you all of those little cuts just to hog out that center material. I think you get the idea on what I'm doing. Now that that process is completed and I have a dado that is totally cleared out, let's test it. I put my scrap piece of wood in there and that fits in perfect. And that's how you can create that perfect dado with that Kerfmaker using the table saw fence itself. So this gives you one more way to very efficiently use a very simple scrap wood Kerfmaker type of jig that really didn't cost anything to make, but it will save you a ton of time in the shop to be able to create dados like this perfect every time. I want to thank everybody for watching this video today, and to be able to learn one more way to be able to use a simple Kerfmaker jig like this, to be able to use it in conjunction with your table saw fence. It was pretty easy to be able to set this up, and now you have the ability to do the same in your shop. No longer are you limited just to the table saw sled. So if you like this video, by all means, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget, while you're there, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification. Now in the next video, I'm going to be doing the full cabinet build, and it's 6 drawers in this cabinet that's going to be part of this art studio centerpiece for this room. You're not going to want to miss that. So I look forward to seeing each and every one of you real soon in this next video. So for now, bye-bye, and I can't wait to see you in the shop on the next video.